This video is a patron request from Martin JM, and to that I can only say, by your command. For this build, I used EVA foam, craft foam, putty, paint, super glue, hot glue, artificial intelligence, sanding tools, safety gear, scissors, razor pens, and a box cutter. I started with the faceplate. I made a rough sketch onto cardboard, cut it out, then I traced that onto floor mat foam, and then flipped it for symmetry. I weighted that down with a metal machinist block. Also, I painted them blue just because the metal reflection was messing with my camera. And I don't even know how they dealt with that when they were shooting the original show, because those Cylons were chrome. Must have driven the gaffer insane. Then I cut it out with a work knife. I sharpened the blade in order to get a clean cut. I transferred it to foam floor mats. I cut those out with a work knife, which I continually sharpened in order to keep the cut clean and uniform. The rounded corners are kind of tricky to do with a knife, so once the whole thing was cut out, I refined the corners into a rounded edge on my belt sander. Sanded it smooth. Okay, so that's the face mask. I'm a little concerned about how the edges are gonna line up with the diamond texture that's on the back. So I sharpened the heck out of my work knife with WD-40 and a sharpening stone, and then sliced those off very carefully. Don't want to snap a blade. You can also sand the pattern away on the belt sander, but trying to cut down on the dust, you know? I'm always trying to cut down on the dust. That's all I'm trying to do. Winter's not even over yet, and can you hear my allergies? And then I heat formed it with my heat ray, conveniently stolen from 19th century Martians. This actually isn't necessary because there's only a very subtle curve to the face mask. Once it's glued down to the helmet, it's not going anywhere. But I have the heat machine, so I'm gonna use it. I placed it into a concrete form tube to cool. While that's cooling off, I made the dome. Unlike my helmet builds, this has to sit closer to the scalp so that it looks more like a robot and less like a guy in a suit. So these aren't my standard stock dome templates. I mean, if you're a regular viewer, you can tell because I have a convenient injury to timestamp all the videos shot around this time. Not all dogs are friendly, I've discovered, especially Schnauzer Poodle mixes. Frickin' schnoodle. But no, for real, this dome, it's a little bit smaller and should fit much snugly, much more snugly to my head than my normal helmet, which gives me room to breathe. I'm just not gonna cut out that triangular dart in the side panel and hope that makes up the difference. I don't know, we'll see. I labeled the back of the pieces once they were cut out so that I could tell them apart. Then I cut those pieces out the same way as the faceplate, and then flipped them to get a symmetrical other side, also just like the faceplate, although that was one piece. Next, I heat formed those pieces. So unlike the faceplate, they actually do need heat forming because they have to be heavily manipulated in order to get that rounded shape. So once I heated them up and rounded them on my little anvil here, I placed them inside a bowl to cool. Same thing with the longer pieces. I weighted them down with blue blocks, not red ones. You can't do red ones. Oh no! The whole build is gonna be messed up. All right, moving on. When all the pieces were formed, I glued them together with super glue. First the middle, then the sides. Now that dome is pretty lumpy, so I heated it up again in order to round out the lumps. I then placed it onto a curved surface yet again so that it could hold that shape while it cooled and round it out further. So while it was cooling down again, I made the outer layer of the dome out of scrap cardboard. You guys don't have to use cardboard. I'll have refined templates that you guys can use. Link in the video description down below. See, the whole reason I'm using scrap cardboard is because I know when I'm making something new from scratch, I'm probably gonna make some mistakes. And it's just an easy medium to fix those mistakes in, you know? Cardboard's way cheaper than foam or cardstock. So I cut that out and heat formed it, same as the previous pieces. By this time, the base dome is cooled down, so I removed it in order to free up the mold for the outer dome. See how much smoother that is in comparison to the original round of heat forming? Then I attached the outer shell halves to the smaller dome. Oh, I also made the other half of the outer shell at some point in here. Now to make it more Cylon-y. It's a word. I said it and now it's a word. That's how language works. I need more surface area to attach the faceplate to, so I took an offcut cut, ironically enough, from the Redux Cylon and attached it to the rim of the helmet in order to extend the front. Every time I make a change like this, I transfer it to the template, by the way. It's Bojack, by the way. See, this is why templates are your friend. I make the mistakes so that you don't have to. Okay, now there's enough space to attach a faceplate, so I did that. And now for the iconic dorsal fin, reminiscent of a Spartan helmet. They were really leaning into the Greco-Roman styling in the original series. I'm using 1/2-inch thick foam sheets for this, like actual 1/2-inch, not the stuff they advertise as 1/2-inch. But honestly, there's nothing stopping you from just using a thinner foam and cutting more layers. Just in my case, it's been taking up space in my shop for a year, so what else am I gonna use it for, you know? I cut these ones 2 layers thick and then glued them together with hot glue. See, while I was figuring out the pattern, I was a little bit off in the back, so I filled in those gaps with scrap foam, which is really messy, but the dorsal fin is going to cover up most of it, and I can take care of the rest with putty. So if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world, you know, it's just an extra 5 minutes of puttying. Then I attached the dorsal fin to the top of the helmet, again with hot glue. Now for the speaker, I cut 7 strips of foam to make up the baffles at varying lengths in descending order. These are just strips of puzzle piece foam, but I did slice them down the middle as well so that they'd at most be 3mm thick and just take up less space on the inside of the thing, because I do have to wear this thing and I want to have as much interior volume as possible. The mouth part curves inward and that doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room for your chin. It also wouldn't be a bad idea to sand down some of the interior with the rotary tool as well. You know, I've gone to conventions and taken off a helmet at the end of the day and I just have that foam texture imprinted on my forehead. So you don't need to suffer for your art is what I'm trying to say. You can, but why? Then I glued them in one after another, overlapping them as I went just to get that inverted stairwell look. I started with super glue just to hold them in place, and once they were all in there, I shored them up with hot glue. Next, I made the cheeks. These are relatively simple, they're almost flat. In fact, they're very similar to the Redux Cylon side panels. I didn't use the same templates, but I made them the same way, being that I only needed to heat form them in the back, where they have to curve and connect together to the bottom of the dorsal fin. When the heat forming was done, I attached them to the back of the faceplate, then I glued the 2 pieces together at the other end. And then I carefully connected the sides using some scrap bevel foam off of a previous build to fill in the gap. Being scrap, it's uneven, so I have to refine it using my rotary tool. When that was done, I finally cut out the eye hole, arguably the most iconic of the Cylon's features. Although, one thing I really loved about the original series Cylons is that they had swords. We didn't get that in the new show. And at first, you're kind of like, why would a robot have a sword? But if you really think about it, they're robots, they run on electricity, their blasters run on electricity. So, it's kind of like if you had a blaster powered by coffee. If you had the option, would you not try to save coffee? Like I don't need to shoot this guy. I got a sword. Now, I wish that were it, but being such an iconic feature, I really have to make sure the eye is perfect. So, I sanded up the rough edges with my rotary tool, then I even out the frame by adding scrap pieces of foam. These are actually way thinner than the original floor mat foam that I built the rest of the helmet out of, because I'm running out of space on the inside of the helmet, and I don't want embarrassing creases in my face. Why do you have crow's feet on your nose? Don't worry about it. Then I covered up all the seams with filler putty. This is a DAP product. It's Alex Fast Dry, which is supposed to dry in 25 minutes. This will take several layers, and in all likelihood, it's going to extend into the painting process. So be sure to give yourself plenty of lead time before the convention. Then I painted it flat gray in order to highlight any flaws that I may have missed, filled those in, did another base coat, and then switched to gloss black. This took 3 layers of that gloss black base coat before I could do the metallic top coat. And when that dried, I painted it chrome. You never want to spray paint inside because it hangs in the air and precipitates down, staining the floor and costing you your security deposit. or so I've heard. But it wouldn't be a Cylon without the eye. So I picked up this board from Jupiter Electronics and built a stand in the helmet for it to rest in. And that's how to make a Cylon. Now you can engage in interplanetary genocide. You're welcome. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this video. Once again, I'd like to thank my patrons. These videos just wouldn't be possible without the support of my patrons. So if you enjoy these builds, want to see more of them, and want your build request to carry a bit more weight, then think about heading on over to the Patreon page, where you can enjoy ad-free early uploads. Anything you can pledge goes towards improving the video quality and shop equipment, as well as allowing me to put together bigger and more exciting projects for you on the channel. Alright, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the bell icon to be notified of the future uploads, because it's kind of at a totally random schedule. And let me know what other props you'd like to see me make in comments down below. Thanks again, happy crafting, see you later!